Alright, so yesterday I went to the Minneapolis Institute of Art, and, as I normally do when I go someplace, I'm going to talk about what I saw there. Those images right there, those pictures, were mirrored images. So like if you ever messed with like video recording software, sometimes they'll have this mirror function where it like copies half the image to both sides, and I just thought it was really cool. That right there was pretty much all these small geometric shapes, triangles, squares, circles, I think. And I just thought it was cool how it slowly faded from the blue to the purple. It's a neat effect. Here are just a bunch of postcards. Like these are photo albums just filled with postcards in a room filled with photo albums. I'm going to be quiet for this right now because it makes sound, so I'm going to let you listen. But yeah, that is pretty much just this computer that will blow air through like whistles and like flutes and all these different things to pretty much create music, which I just think is awesome. And here is this carved sculpture from, I think, a log. And here are some fancy rocking chairs. This here is a chimpanzee, which I always thought was interesting, how the cars kind of look, or the heads kind of look like cars. I always thought that was interesting. Here's a surrealist painting. And here's another surrealist painting done by Salvador Dali. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I just always think that surrealism is kind of cool. Here's a pretty fancy, like a chainmail looking dress type thing. But when you get closer, you realize that each of the chains are actually dog tags, which is obviously hugely symbolic, and that's something I get into, but I just think it's really cool. And then coming up, we have this weird statue laying down person. Art is weird sometimes. I often don't understand it. But over here is this nice kind of graffiti-looking wall, which I just think is kind of neat. Here is a picture of people looking at something in a museum. I almost wish I would have had someone recording me looking at the picture, so it could have been you looking at me, looking at people looking at something in a museum. There was just a highly realistic picture of a zebra, which I thought was cool. This is an interesting picture, because it's pretty much a picture of a larger workshop, but each picture shows a section of it, but there's overlap, and I just thought it was really cool. Here's a sculpture of something that I don't even know what it does. Actually, it probably doesn't even do anything. But yeah, I suppose I should mention that I was originally here in the first place. Well, before I get to that, this here is a car, and I think it's interesting that it looks mutated with the 3 headlights. Cars can't really be mutated, but I think it's interesting how it can seem mutated. And then up here is just a bunch of armor that we saw that I just thought was cool. That's what I was saying. The reason I was originally here was to see this Leonardo da Vinci exhibit of just a bunch of his writings and codexes, and then some other modern inventions and sculptures. Here's samurai armor, by the way. Now, I couldn't get any video of it because they don't allow it on the exhibits, but I was able to get video of everything else. And the Leonardo da Vinci stuff was really cool. It was interesting to see his thoughts and everything. He liked... Oh, by the way, here are some old guns. Not sure what they are, so I'm not going to even try to describe them. But Da Vinci seemed really interested in water and how it flowed, which, as an aerospace engineer, I thought was kind of cool. And to be fair, it is really... water flowing is interesting. This right here is interesting, because it's pretty much pictures of the same thing, but at different points in time, so you're going to see how it progressed. Here is an interesting sculpture with gears in it. I don't know much about it. And here's an interesting painting of, I think, the 4 days naval war between, I want to say, Dutch and England. And then here's a sculpture, or a model, done by an architect of this building that he wanted to make. By the way, sorry if my hand's occasionally in the frame. This was done on my phone, not my actual camera, because since we were into the exhibit, I didn't think I'd need the camera. So sorry about the fingers in it occasionally. This here was the original design for the Minneapolis Institute of Art. It doesn't actually look like this, but this is what they were originally thinking. Yeah, quite elaborate. Here is an actual human skeleton, which I think is just cool. You've got the leg bones and you got the spine back here. Just neat. Here's a set-up living room. I think this is someone's actual living room. I don't know whose, but just thought it was really cool that they had a whole entire set-up living room. Oh, there's my hand again. Here's some really old pottery from somewhere in the Asia area. Not entirely sure where, but it's just really old. And here's tapestries, also somewhere in the Asia area. Sorry, I really don't know specifics here. But I just thought tapestries are kind of cool. And here's this weird decoration type thing. It reminds me of like wind chimes almost, or a weather vane, I think more accurately. I don't know what it actually is supposed to be, but it reminds me of that. This here is a sarcophagus, which was intricately carved for, I think, one of the Chinese princes. So that's just very neat. Here's another one of those setup rooms. I don't know what this is exactly set up for. It might be a workshop, but it's just really cool to see, because I like that type of thing. Here is a model of a funeral procession. So it's just kind of all these sculptures, like toy figures for a funeral procession. And then here's a scholar's room. And I thought it was kind of interesting that we have this type of thing now, except you fit like 3 people in that size of room for college. This here is a really old birdcage, and these here are even older stone tools from like 2000 to 5000 BCE, which is crazy. That's from potentially like 7,000 years ago. It's just amazing me how old that really is, and the fact that we have it. That there was just some horses, and right here are some model buildings. Not entirely sure what the buildings are for, but they're here. This then, we think, is a fish trap. It could just be a sculpture of some sort, but we think it's a fish trap. Here's a pretty cool sculpture of, I think it's Roman. Don't know who made it at all. I'm just really speculating on that one. And then here's a fountain, which people have obviously thrown pennies in, as you do around fountains. And then here are some African tools, or blades, as it was described, which is also kind of cool to see them. And then this is a coffin. So, I mean, that intricately carved sarcophagus is pretty cool, but I mean, come on, you could be buried in a shrimp. It's pretty cool. This here is in a mask. Look how tall that thing is. That's ridiculous. I kind of doubt that a mask's ability to be stable and that person's ability to pick their head up. Here is just 2 smashed together, I think, pots. Here's a Greek, possibly Persian helmet, around the Greek era. And then here's a mosaic of 2 animals fighting, which I thought was cool. But yeah, that's what I saw at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Hope you enjoyed it, and see ya.